Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a bit of a shout out video to a wargaming company. I suppose you could call them a wargaming company that produces a lot of scenery items for mostly the Infinity Saga game. The company itself is called Antenocitis Workshop, and you can find them at antenocitiesworkshop.com. I will put a link in the description below, but they sell quite a few miniature items which I think would certainly move across into things like the Alien vs Predator game, the Warhammer series, Warhammer 40k series, certainly things like the Walking Dead miniatures game that Mantic produce. Antenocitis Workshop do a number of vehicles that could be easily used within those games, and certainly a lot of the buildings for the towns, etc., I feel could be used in it. So as I say, they're antenocitiesworkshop.com, and when you go onto their website, they've got a number of different categories that you can look at. Now, they, as well as producing or selling a lot of MDF buildings, they sell a lot of resin products as well. And certainly some of the things that they sell, I mean, for example, if you're an Imperial Guard player and you want a completely different type of super heavy tank, then they sell this Black Prince super heavy tank on their website, which retails at £65, which I think is very good value for money. They also sell sort of like cyberpunk vehicles, like those. But then they also sell other items, which I will go into. Now, as I say, they sell a lot of stuff for the Infinity game. But what I'll quickly do is they've got a very small fantasy section which predominantly revolves around scenery pieces. So for example, they sell beer kegs, leaded windows, so that if you're doing making buildings for your fantasy, you can have decent, almost in period style windows for the buildings, Gothic style statues, which, let's face it, are pretty much modelled on the Lord of the Rings statues that came out. 2-panel wooden doors, arched wooden doors, broken statues, pallets of barrels, single bay windows, double bay windows, rustic doors and rustic leaded windows, and that's basically their fantasy range. So for those people that do the Warhammer, or do Kings of War from Mantic, or do the Lord of the Rings, you could probably use a lot of those items in order to make your scenery pieces. So coming up into their other items, they've got a thing called governance of technology, which they do a lot of products which you could use for Imperial Guard, alternative Imperial Guard vehicles. So for example, this Hunchback Mark 1 APC infantry carrier could be used to replace your chimeras within your Imperial Guard unit. You've also got things like Scorpion light tank, which appears to be an anti-grav tank. Some other more technologically different things. You've got a spider turret, mobile turret. You've also got these Vipers, which are like a 4-wheel dune buggy type thing, which again could be used for recon units within Imperial Guard. So within the governance of technology sphere, you've got quite a few different vehicles which could be used as alternatives. Within the survival heading, and these are the things which I feel could be used in, as stand-ins for games, apocalypse games like The Walking Dead. So one of the things I do like about this is that they do this sheet of graffiti decals that you could put on buildings. Things like rescue needed, don't open, dead inside, very famous one, and things like that, which you could put on buildings within your apocalyptic layout, as it were, gaming board. They also do things like in the 28mm scale, they've got an ambulance, an ice cream van. They also do things like military temporary command centre, low rendered walling, which I believe is MDF. It says pre-painted MDF. Rendered walling, again pre-painted MDF. Cinder breeze block walls, again pre-painted MDF. They've got some different vehicles. There's a dog salon, newspaper stands, T-wall sections, so if you wanted to make a T-wall barricade, you've got those there. There's also, let's just change how many products are on the page. They also do things like MDF sofas, etc. So that if you're gaming a apocalypse scenario in a building, you can furnish the building. Army checkpoints, traffic cones, ISO containers, aircon units. A lot of this is MDF, petrol station, payphones, and these are all things more graffiti. Portaloos, they look like the resin. Ice vending machines, body bags, but again, that could be something that you could use within 40k as well. So within the survival section on their website, they've got quite a few different bits and pieces, and then we come into a lot of the vehicles that you could use to add more of a three-dimensional aspect to games of Walking Dead. I know a lot of the vehicles that are in the Walking Dead game are 2D flat renderings. So these different vehicles, again in 28mm scale, would be good, and they're not a bad price either. I mean, for this vehicle it's £8.50. I don't know what the conversion would be for those in the States, but I'm sure that if you were to order, you could get a currency conversion. A technical, pickups, Capri driving is just obviously a pun on the Capri, and it's just for adding broken jersey barriers, work lights, safety railings, construction pallets. Again, the other aspect of these could be that they would be used for 40k. So there's a lot of aspects here. You've got commercial bins, Again, they look resin, and one of them you can have open showing the detritus inside. Rubbish piles, you know. So the website themselves, I think, is very good just for additional extras. If we look at the Design for Infinity range, which may be potentially slightly more in keeping with perhaps those people that want to use it for, say, Dead Zone, or as I say, 40k. There's a lot of stuff here that could be crossed over. They do a lot of bundles for buildings, and a lot of these buildings themselves can be internalized, so that if you wanted to play a game, say for example of Kill Team, where you had an infestation and you had to go and clear it out of a building, you could set it up so that you had the interiors. Suburban office upgrade packs. They also do a lot of bases, so and in various, like industrial, or even potentially ship interior, spaceship interior. So just looking down, they, like I said, there's an awful lot of stuff that Antenocitis Workshop do, which can be ported over to other games, just to give your tabletop gaming areas a lot more interest and depth. You've got planters, Kobe fencing. Again, you've got it says it's Infinity political graffiti decals, but I'm sure that you could potentially use those on walls for 40k or Dead Zone. They do a lot of decals for the different factions within the Infinity. And also they do a lot of accessories. I mean, for example, you've got tenement buildings, stepped tenements, metro police station, which you could convert to an Adeptus Arbites station, cargo lifts. If I just show you these, and again, I feel that these could be used within, you know, the Mechanicus sets for 40k or other industrial type settings. Or if, say, for example, you have done a game board which is set inside a derelict space hulk, then these could be grav lifts, sort of thing, that you could use within the game. So there's a lot of scope within Antenocitis Workshop for moving over to other gaming extras. The other thing that they do is they do a lot of metal and resin accessories, and some of the stuff that they do are things like these television panels, basically, and they do different ones. They do like a command one. They do this one, which is medical screens. Okay. And what you get is you get a set of, I think they're resin screens, and you get a sheet of printed medical diagrams that you can put onto it. Some of the other stuff that they do, for example, armoured doors. They do these system pads. So, as I said, if you were, for example, doing a Space Hulk gaming board and you wanted to add in some extra detail, these come as well. And when you order the sets, they come with little sheets of card with the printed diagrams on, so that you can include them onto the systems pads. Fueling points, again, very futuristic look. Different armoured doors. PowerPoints, and all of these I feel would be really good for just making any terrain board a lot more interesting. Command and control terminal screens, barricades made out of crates, etc. Now, one of the things that they do, which I did own previously, unfortunately it's missing, was a command table, tactical deluxe table, and this is what it is. And you know, again, it could be something if you're setting up a gaming board where you would have a mobile command station for your Space Marines. This tactical board would be ideal for that command station. So that's the website. Some of the resin items that they sell are exceptionally good. I do have a few here. Unfortunately, most of what I'm going to show you is out of production from them now, but the one that is in production is the command consoles, computer consoles for you could use it for a bridge setting or something else. So these are what I have currently, and as you can see, they're nicely detailed. They do paint up really well. The other things, some of the other things that I've purchased from them in the past, which unfortunately they no longer do, this was kind of like an air processing unit that they had, an aircon unit that would sit on the side of a building or on a roof, and you can see that the level of detail that they put into these is very good. Again, they used to do these resin beds, okay, so a single and a double, which you could use in apartment blocks. And one of the other things which I purchased from them, which they no longer do, but at some point I will get round to using on a terrain piece, was these, and they're basically add-on armour concrete blocks. So you would perhaps glue them onto a structure like thus, and paint them up. And like I say, they're just concrete slabs that you would, say for example, use if you had a building, if you've done a building for 40k and you had an emplacement on top, you could perhaps glue these around the emplacement as extra armour protection. And then finally, the other thing which I had from them, I had a couple of sets of concrete planters from them, which they no longer do. I think they do MDF ones now. But again, for populating a tabletop where you've got perhaps a slightly more modernistic, clean lined environment, these would provide really good, when set up, you know, clear lines of in places of barricades. They would be something to hide behind for cover, etc. So as I say, the quality of their mouldings is really good. I've never had any problems with stuff that I've had from them, and I can highly recommend having a look at their website. As I say, I'll put the link in the description below, but these and Antenocitis Workshop .com are definitely worth a look and a visit. So with that, I hope you're all staying safe amid the current coronavirus pandemic, and if you want to continue seeing more content that I will be doing, then please like and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to, hit the bell notification to get notifications of when I post up new content. Hopefully in the near future I will be doing some bits and pieces painting wise, and hopefully you'll join me for that. Okay, speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.